The film begins with a farmhouse shrouded in darkness at night, with a bright light piercing through. The farmer wakes up to find his farm in disarray and is filled with frustration. His 3 sons take advantage of his kindness and ask John to guard the farm alone. While keeping watch, John hears an eerie voice and sees a large white horse standing behind him. He tries to grab the horse by tying a rope to it, but the horse falls into a swamp. John helps the horse get out of the swamp, but the horse's eyes are filled with tears. John feels terrible and promises that he will never come near this farmhouse again. John hears a sound from his farm and is shocked to see 2 horses chained there. When he looks back, he sees a tiny horse named Foal, the son of the horse that John had saved the night before. Foal informs John that his mother is happy with him and has sent him a gift. John then hears his father's voice and tries to keep him outside, preventing him from entering. John sits on Foal and is shocked by his speed. When he takes the horses to the market, people are shocked by their beauty. Foal advises John to sell them to the older man, but John wants to sell them to the king. When the king arrives, he is fascinated by the horses, but his minister believes they are stolen. The king takes advantage of this and takes John's 2 horses without payment. John is scolded by Foal, who tells him to sell them to the old man. When Foal notices John is sad, he whistles again, and the horses come back to him. The king's carriage tips over due to 2 horses being thrown into a flour sack. John sets a high price for the horses, forcing the king's people to advise him to employ him for his work. John accepts the offer and begins working for the king, but the king's assistant advises him to call a phoenix bird by John, which is difficult and something John would never be able to do. In the meantime, the king would sentence him to death. King praises his assistant's idea and tells John about it. Foal warns John that it will be dangerous, but John accepts the challenge. Foal takes John into the forest and shows him a dream nut, which is the firebird's special nut. John accepts the challenge, and Foal helps him by taking him into the forest. Firebirds live underground, and people throw nuts on the floor to attract them. When they smell the nuts, they come out, and the bird eats them and faints. John tries to capture the firebird, but it chases him, and the entire island catches fire. John throws the last nut in front of the firebird, and when it eats it, the bird faints. John wakes up the next morning and sees a firebird. He frees it and gives one of its feathers to John, which is glowing from the heat. Foal assures John that the king will not forgive him, but John claims that seeing this feather will convince them that they have captured the firebird. When John goes to the king, and the king doesn't believe in anything, John is brought before the death penalty. The king orders John to be killed, but the firebird appears, and everyone is shocked. This causes the king to withdraw his death sentence and give promotion to John. The minister suggests sending John to bring a mountain princess, which the king approves of. John is sent on the mission, and the king loves the idea. John makes it to the Sun Mountains, where the princess lives. He finds a thick ice layer on the way to the castle, and a firebird's feather breaks it. A flood comes, and Foal falls into it. When John enters the castle, he finds a large number of girls sleeping, making it difficult to identify the true princess. John recognizes a princess when a firebird feather falls near her. He informs her that his king is interested in marrying her, but the girl jumps down from the mountain, and John jumps after her. Foal saves them both and carries them down by riding them on his back. After observing John, Foal realizes he begins to like the princess. Foal realizes that if the king finds out, it will be a problem for him. The princess is listening in on their talk secretly and thinks she's starting to like Jon. When they return to the king, everyone is amazed to see a gorgeous princess. Jon is worried about the princess and goes to see her secretly. Before he can tell her anything, the king's people arrive and take her away. The king proposes to the princess, but she sets a condition to marry him. If he can bring the ring that belonged to her grandmother to the princess, this ring was lost in the sea, and she will not marry until she receives it. Jon arrives and is shot by the king. Foal tells his mother about the ring, which is in the whale's belly near a small island in the sea. Jon goes with Foal, but falls down due to a collapse with several birds around. Jon has reached the whale and notices large chains in the sea as well as a whale trapped in the chains. When Jon comes out, Foal informs him that the entire island is a whale. The whale tells Jon that it has eaten some ships by accident and has been imprisoned by the other sailors. Jon is sad for the whale and has a plan to help it sneeze and get everything out of it. He goes inside the whale's nose and tickles it, and the whale sneezes, and all of the ships emerge from its stomach. Later, the whale returns to the sea. Jon is reminded of the ring by a whale and becomes sad. A crab appears with the ring and tells Jon that the whale has sent it for him. They return to the princess and take a look at the firebird tied to the building. When Jon gives the princess the ring, she knows he can do anything for her. The king's man is peering through the microscope at Foal and feels he is a devil when he listens to him speak. The king wakes up and shoots Foal near the princess's window. Jon, despite his best efforts, is unable to save him. The king announces that Jon has been fired from his job and will be put to death after a few days. The princess meets Foal and informs him that she has asked the king to shower in 3 different pots. The first pot will be filled with hot water, the second with chilled water, and the third with boiled milk. He informs the king that by doing this, they will be young again, but the king's man advises him to test Jon first. Princess warns Foal of an idea to save Jon's life by placing her grandmother's ring in the first pot, the firebird's feather in the second pot, and the life and death flowers in the third pot. Princess claims that these flowers can only be found in the last corner of the world, but Foal believes that due to their speed, this task can be completed quickly. Foal goes to get flowers, and the king tells everyone how kind he is and that this process is Jon's second chance, as if he succeeds, he will be released. Despite being injured, Foal goes to get the flowers. Jon is pushed into a pot, and the princess places her ring in it, allowing him to exit the first section and enter the second. The firebird screams, and the feather falls into the pot, leading to Jon falling into the third and final pot. Foal reaches the flower and plucks the blossom, but everyone believes Jon is dead and leaves sadly. Foal throws a flower into a pot, Jon comes from the pot looking like a prince, and the king jumps into the first pot and is trapped in a bubble. Jon is crowned king, and they go out to search for the foal. Foal thinks he's going to die, but Princess assures him that it was just a test. At the end, Jon and Princess marry, and the movie ends. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.